guest. That's a recovering Safe Passage client, Mike Blake. Great to have you here, Mike.
It's good to be here.
So I want to ask you a little bit about your journey, Mike. But first, I want to ask Denise, what can you say about the guests that you've brought here today?
Well, I met him, I think he came in the office in December of 2019. And that was a couple months after we opened up in Taylorville. And he went to rehab. And then there's a little bit of relapse there. And he went again. And now he's doing great. He has a job and he's doing great. And he's following up with everything just perfect.
Mike, how has Safe Passage helped you?
Well, when I first tried to start to get clean, I didn't even know nothing about how to get in a rehab or anything. I ended up getting a hold of Denise through I was put on problem solving court at the time, and they directed me to Denise to be able to go to rehab. So I mean, I didn't know nothing about rehab. I didn't even have suitcases, and they helped a lot. Like it was amazing. It was a blessing.
Yeah, and you had just kind of mentioned it there. You were, because Denise, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there are two ways you can go through Safe Passage: the drug court way, and then you can walk in.
You can walk in, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But you found yourself going through Safe Passage in the drug court route, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I guess at the time, what was your reaction to that, and how has that changed? Going through, because drug court says, hey, you got to go to rehab, right? But and you go through Safe Passage, you meet Denise. At the time, I can imagine that you weren't super thrilled about it, but it's been a long journey. So how would you characterize that?
My anxiety was through the roof.
I can imagine.
It was they take you though, so I've never been in that kind of environment, so Denise was really eager to explain, like, just calm down, you're fine, this is what they're going to do, I'm going to sit with you. She actually sat there with me, I think 30 minutes before they even was able to do my intake at Gateway. It started out that I was really nervous and scared, and by the time Denise was leaving, I was more focused and ready to get it done.
Get started. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I can imagine that you mentioned it. You're super nervous too. I can imagine that you didn't really know what to expect either. Going, you're sitting and then you meet Denise. I guess, what were you expecting, and I guess how has it been the same or different from what you were expecting?
I walked in there like I walk in a jail. I figured it was going to be like a more of a incarceration setting.
You were kind of ready to just bite the bullet and take whatever the punishment was.
Yeah, get it done.
And how was that? Was this experience different from what you were expecting?
It just they care. It's the people cared about you, like through them and up in Gateway. The counselors up there, they're amazing. Like I was only there for like 28 days, but I learned so much in a short amount of time. Like it was, again, it was just a blessing.
Yeah. If you could name something that really helped you overall while you were there, you mentioned Gateway, right? For 28 days. I know you mentioned you've learned a lot, and I don't want you to cite your curriculum, but if there's something that you could point to, what would that be that's really helped you?
That there's a difference between me sober and me being in active addiction. They're two separate people. That helps me overcome a lot of what I've done in my past, because it wasn't me. It was me intoxicated.
Right. It's a good reminder that we're not all really the same person if we are under the influence.
Right. Totally different.
Right. Denise, what can you kind of say about that correlation and when it comes to addiction, compared to everyone in this room, sobriety and like the type of people
Well,
we
it's
are.
totally two different people. When I see the clients come in the first time into my office and speak with them, interview them, I mean, they come in every shape, and then when I see them after they complete, even if it is 28 days, it's totally different. Some of them I don't even recognize them. A lot of them complain because they've gained weight because they're eating and sleeping now, and on a regular schedule. So it's just a complete transformation.
The gaining weight part is something I didn't
Yeah.
think about, but I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. You're not here. We don't need to get into that. Well, I know you went through 28 days, Mike. Were you out and about afterwards, or did you take any other steps in your sobriety beyond that? How did that journey unfold?
I hit the ground running. I started to attend meetings here in town, NA meetings, AA meetings. I was on problem solving court, so I started intense outpatient immediately at Liberty Counseling. I did everything that was suggested and then some more. I got me a sponsor. I started to work steps. It's still a work in progress. Nobody's perfect, but
right. Yeah, and you went through the outpatient. You've been going to meetings. You've been doing, as you mentioned, everything you have been doing. So I guess this is a better question for Denise. What is you've mentioned to me a couple of times that 28 days a lot of times just isn't enough.
It isn't enough.
And, he's doing more than just 28 days. But what situation determines more of a kind of a group home setting? And I guess I guess I'm trying to see where some people are better fit for outpatient or whether some people are a better fit for that group home setting after those 28 days. Yeah.
While they're in the rehab facility, I always talk to them, try to get them to, if they want to go on to a sober living home, a group home, that's great. If not, and they want to go back to where they came from, I try to get them set up with meetings. As Mike said, he goes to meetings. We have him here in Taylorville 7 days a week. And then we have counseling services that they can also go to. They can call us anytime. They get a sponsor, someone who has been clean like for over a year, has done all the 12 steps. And if like Mike has any problems, any issues, any triggers come up, he can call that sponsor and just talk it out.
Yeah. And
you always need aftercare.
Right. Mm-hmm. And as it sounds like what I'm getting here is 28 days. That's the bare minimum, but the bare minimum hardly ever works. And once you go through that, though, you still have a choice. Do you want to go into a group home or do you want to start setting up meetings? Right. And it's an individual choice at that point because you've done what you needed to do at that point. Right. Do I have an accurate characterization of that?
28 days is something that the state is a state thing.
I see.
The facilities are mostly state ran. So their 28 days is all now there are some that are long-term. There are some that's 90 days. And we do have a couple that we're affiliated with that is a year-long program. So that, works out really good too.
I asked that to Denise, Mike, because I want to know what it means to you to be able to make that choice for a program to have that trust in you to say, look, whatever you're going to do, I know you're going to continue your recovery, but it's your choice. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot because in active addiction, a lot of people think it's a choice, and it is when you first start. But after a while, you become powerless to it. It controls you, your actions, your mood. It controls everything about you. So making the choice to go to rehab is the first
big step.
The first step you get to getting your control and your power back of your life. So being able to make the choice to, do I want to do like go to the Sharp House here in town or something, sober living, or can I just go home? It's a big step because it gives us our power back.
He said it perfect.
And I want to go ahead and take a quick time out on that note. That's recovering client of Safe Passage, Mike Blake, along with co-coordinator Denise Evans here on the WTIM Morning Show. More from her for them after this short time out here on the WTIM, your information station.
WTIM.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Tuesday. Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network. Corn slightly lower, beans lower, and Chicago wheat starting the day a bit higher. May corn 612.5 down a penny. July corn down 1 3/4, 601 1/4. September corn 560 3/4 down 3. May beans starting the day 1486 3/4 down 4.5. July beans down 4.5. 1474.5. August beans 1435 3/4 down a nickel. May Chicago wheat 688 1/4 up 3 3/4. July wheat up 2 3/4, 698 1/4. September wheat 708 1/2 up 2 pennies. May bean meal 474.30 down $5 to start the day, and May bean oil 56.08 up 22 cents. That's a look at the opening numbers at the Chicago Board of Trade for this Tuesday morning. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
Your local radio stations are here for you. No subscriptions or monthly fees necessary. We're here to give you the news, weather, and traffic you need, and the music you love. But if the foreign-owned record labels get their way, it could stop the music. They want Congress to force radio stations to pay them more money, simply to play their music. Don't let radio go silent. Text LOCAL to 52886 and tell Congress to protect local radio stations. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Chip Flory here, inviting you to join the conversation as we tackle the current issues of agriculture every weekday morning at 10:06 on the Talk of Central Illinois, News Talk WTIM. I host AgriTalk, the nation's longest-running interview show dedicated to discussing agriculture issues with the newsmakers and include you in the conversation via our toll-free number. We're here weekdays mornings at 10:06. We are AgriTalk.
Angels Among Us. I'm Rose Ruhal at Visiting Angels. Our mission is to put seniors first, prioritizing the safety, security, and personal well-being of each and every client in our care. I'm excited to bring our services to Christian and Shelby counties. Click our icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com for Visiting Angels, providing the care seniors and veterans deserve.
Visiting Angels, America's choice in home care.
Find out all the goods or services provided by DeMichael Floors and more. 1217 West Presser in Taylorville by clicking their icon on the obituaries page of TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. Find out about available units at Taylorville's Valley View Mobile Home Park, 913 North Taylorville Boulevard by clicking the Valley View Mobile Home Park icon on the obits page of TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
It's the WTIM Morning Show. I'm Avery Cooper, your host. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark, and People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. I have Taylorville Safe Passage in studio right now. That includes recovering client Mike Blake and longtime guest co-coordinator Denise Evans. Let's focus here on Mike for a moment. If you wouldn't mind, Mike, I would like to know a little bit more about your history on how you kind of got to this point, for a lack of a better term. I guess, when did you start using, if you don't mind me asking?
I was really a teenager, like 12, 13 years old. It started off with marijuana and just like drinking at parties, you know. It progressed as I got older. It progressed. I was drinking more heavily. You know, by the time I was 17 years old, I was probably drinking every day. Smoking weed every day. Got involved in cocaine about the same time. Started to use that all the time. Ended up sitting in prison, 18 years old, for some illegal complications I got myself into.
Yeah, we don't have to get into details.
I got out and nothing changed. You know, I didn't learn nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I was still a kid. Went back to drinking, back to my old friends. Started, about 19, I started indulging meth. and still drinking. Numerous arrests throughout my life. I've been to prison 4 times. It's terrible, but when it all came to a head was to this last year. I was strung out real bad on fentanyl and methamphetamine, and I was drinking, and I ended up getting in trouble again and getting by the grace of God, and I got the blessing to do drug court again.
Do you see? I get the sense that you kind of see that as a second chance. Is that inaccurate?
Yeah, it's like my 4th one, but yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we all get more than a second chance,
Yeah.
and that's okay too. What does that mean to you to be able to have this extra shot?
It means everything, because I didn't have to have it. They could have just threw me back in prison, and nothing changes that way. I'd come out and be the same person I am. Through this time, though, I have a different outlook about drug court and everything. I attend counseling 2 to 3 times a week with my therapist. I go to 7 meetings a week. I do stuff for the community. I try to reach out. I help. I really have took this time to understand that it's no longer my will I'm doing my higher power's will. I'm walking his path now, so I cannot fail.
And I am, there's a few different ways I could take this question, because it's, you brought up, a little bit of the history. I'm having a hard, honestly, I'm kind of trying to soak it in, to be honest with you. I'm a little bit emotional myself, Denise. So I'd appreciate if you could kind of pick me up and tell me what you have seen from this try from Mike since he has been back in the drug court. I guess, why do
From
you...
the beginning?
Right. Well, maybe not from the beginning, but just the second time around, per se, right? For lack of a better term. What kind of changes have you noticed, if any, I suppose?
Oh, yeah, totally different. I think back in 2019, I picked him up from rehab, took him home, and I was iffy right then. I thought, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I need to keep on him and everything. And so we kept in contact. And anyway, this time I see a complete change in the way he acts, the way he talks, everything. And not just talk, he is following through. Like he said, he goes to meetings, he has a full-time job now, and he's responsible. He's accountable for everything that he does. And that's what we want.
Yeah. Mike, I started this whole interview off by asking Denise, what can you say about Mike? Well, I'm going to reverse the question. What can you say about Denise?
She, the first time I met Denise, I was at a point in my life to where I didn't even care about me. So to have her come in and show me so much care and love and understanding, and just be so willing to help, not just me, but anybody, it's a blessing for any addict. I appreciate her. And if I ever, that's why when she asked me to do this, I was quick to be like, yeah, I'll be here. She asked me anything she asked of me, I'm quick to be like, yes, let's, because it's a great program.
Oh, you better be careful then.
I mean, this program saved my life, so it can save anybody's.
That is recovering client with Safe Passage, Mike Blake, and co-coordinator Denise Evans. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241 CF Taylorville, 107.5 W298.